Welcome in, everyone, to Florida State Seminoles Live on a Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. So we are here each and every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. So mark it down because this is your place to be for college football talk. On those folks from Tallahassee, Jason Parker joins us each and every time. Our 40th edition, Jason. 4-0.
Well, one of us is here each and every single time. One of us has no life and is constantly here. But I'm here. I'm happy to be here with Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. I'm here to talk about the Seminoles. Man, what a great job by the Noles last night. Oh, wait, sorry, this is a football chat. I thought we were talking
some basketball.
Shout out to the boys who went down 12, winning by 15. Trent Forrest murdered that man from Louisville. We're going to be at least a number 2 seed. We're heading down here to Tampa. Yes. FSU basketball. We're a relevant team. We are a basketball school. Hashtag basketball school.
That's the way it's going.
That's where we are. I mean, let's be honest. That's what we are right now.
We're now at 3 seasons of 500 football.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Well, thanks a lot for ruining that for us, man. Appreciate it.
Actually, to be exact, sub 500 football at
here we go.
7-6, 5-7, 6-7. So 3 games under 500.
Man, I'm really glad Clemson beat Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl. That's all I'm going to say there.
Somebody beat Ohio State.
Somebody. Yeah. Are we going to talk about the
comes back for show number 40.
40.
And be back for show number 41 as it stands right now.
Maybe.
Unless he continues.
Maybe. Who knows?
You got this cornerback, or you no longer have a cornerback by the name of A.J. Lytton. This kid had potential to be a player. Number 7 cornerback in the nation coming out of high school in 2018. And for you folks that don't follow recruiting, when you say a player is a top 50 player, regardless of position, that's rarefied air. There's usually about 40 to 55 stars. So he was on that cusp, on that border, that good, and he's no longer with the team, Jason.
A.J. Lytton was somebody who, like you said, he came to Florida State. He was from the Maryland area, was a junior entering this coming season. He played in 10 games as a freshman in 2018. He played in 12 games last season and got a start against Alabama State. And like you said, this is a case of a player who came into Tallahassee, heavily recruited, heavily wanted, was brought in by the first class under head coach Willie Taggart, and then just never seemed to really I don't want to say he never was able to achieve that next level, but that's basically what happened. Is for some reason he came in and was never able to take that next step. He was never able to get to that next level. Now, the big question at this point is, was this his decision to leave? Basically, what FSU said last week after we did our show was that he was no longer on the roster. So the question then becomes, was he kicked off the team? Did he decide, is he gonna transfer? Is he gonna transfer back up to where he's from in the Maryland area? Is he gonna follow head coach Taggart down to FAU, down in South Florida, down here? So there's plenty of questions still left, but I think that this falls under the new era of Mike Norvell. The old era is gone. Players who were brought in are gone. You have the rash of players we talked about last week who've transferred. Trey McKitty up to Georgia. Several other players who have transferred. So I think this is just another case of guys who just aren't a part of the program anymore and are heading to that next level.
So Jason, this may be a difficult question to serve, but you are the answer of difficult questions. So I never pull a punch with you. It's been a limited time since Mike Norvell gained the job, but just based on the actions that he's taken and his rhetoric at the podium and in other settings, do you see a marked change? Can you get a feel for what kind of regime he's going to run?
I don't think you have a full grasp. I don't think any of us have a full grasp yet on what that regime could be. I think, and I said this before, and there, some of the viewers here on Mark Rogers TV that was college football have said that I've been anti-Mike Norvell. I've been anti-Mike Norvell. I have not been anti-Mike Norvell. I have been anti the 5-week process it took to hire a coach that you probably could have hired in 5 days instead of 5 weeks. I think Mike Norvell was smart from the beginning to temper expectations. We've said this before. We kind of came in, and I say this as a proud alumni of FSU, we came in like the hurt broken person, someone who got broken up with in the relationship. We came in with it and saying, when we hired Willie Taggart from Oregon, saying, you know what, forget you, Jimbo. We don't need you. We've got Willie now. We've got someone better. And we came in saying, we're going to take care of Clemson. We're going to beat Florida. We're going to beat Miami. We're going to do all these great things. And we didn't realize just how much of a dumpster fire Florida State football was before Willie Taggart came in. Mike Norvell has tempered those expectations and saying, yes, we are going to be successful if we work and get to that point. And I think that's the smartest approach he could make at this point, is saying, listen, we're going to have to work. We're going to have to go out there and get the job done. But you know what? We may only win 8 games this season. We may win 9 games next season. And we've talked about it. That first 5-game stretch of the schedule is going to say there's going to be a huge difference between if Florida State is 4-1 or is 1-4, because both could conceivably happen. We don't know at this point. So I think that's where if we are a smart fan base, if we are not the Twitterverse fan base that some fans have become, both in Tallahassee and both Tallahassee, Coral Gables, Columbus, Ohio, Ann Arbor, Michigan, everywhere else, if we are smart and come in with these expectations tempered, I think we're going to be just fine. So I don't think it's so much on Mike Norvell as much as fans need to calm down. He's not going to be the Bobby Bowden coach of the dynasty era. He's not going to be Willie Taggart the last 2 seasons. Let's see what Mike Norvell can be at this point.
I'm curious to get a response from our Florida State fan base here that watches us on a regular basis. We've got 39 on the line. We typically tap out around the 120 range. We will get anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 views on this video eventually. So leave down in the comment section, not in the live chat itself, but please leave in the comment section, because it will be much easier for me to tally rather than trying to go through the feed constantly. In the comment section below, whether you were in favor as a Florida State fan of the hiring of Mike Norvell or not. I would love to see those results.
My answer would be not, but I am also a blinded by loyalty Seminole, so I'm going to stick with him no matter what. So let's hope and see what happens here. I'm wearing the Orange Bowl shirt from the last time we were a relevant team in the national. This might be the last time we were actually ranked. You should like this. We beat Michigan there, so you should.
Beat Michigan. That was a great game, 33-32.
I love how Dennis Wilson is making fun of Tallahassee, and yet I believe is that a Pee Wee League game that he has on the picture of? I'm sorry. I guess that's when Miami was actually relevant, when he was a Pee Wee League player. Dennis Wilson, I'm not sure.
It looks like the attendance at a Miami game.
Shout out to Miami baseball. I was there for 2 of their 3 games this past weekend, and they lost by a total of 6 runs to the Gators and left 28 runners on base. So shout out to the Canes. Yeah, you're a relevant team. Don't worry. You're not relevant in football. You're not relevant in basketball. You're not relevant in baseball. Women's soccer, maybe. Who knows? Let's see.
This is our little Florida State show that we bring you each and every week on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Where's Logan?
He's getting drunk. I mean, I'm sorry. He's what did he write to us? He is the social chairman at a campaign party in Tallahassee, I guess, for student government or for his fraternity or whatnot. So can we put on James Scott? I just want to point this here. I think Chipotle could get a bunch of business this hour. Am I the only person who doesn't like Chipotle? I don't like Chipotle.
I'm good with Chipotle. I was introduced to Chipotle from my daughter. We used to hit Chipotle. Yeah. She loved it. I quickly grew tired of it. I will say that. But I tend to be the guy that orders the same thing every time.
I feel like it's pretentious Mexican food. Like, I feel like it's no better Mexican food than Moe's or Qdoba's or, hell, even Taco Bell. But,
well, let's not put Taco Bell in the conversation.
Hey, don't act like when you were at Kent State that you did not have a time at 2 o'clock in the morning where you may have had one too many and you may have had to stop at Taco Bell. Don't act like you're better than us, Mark Rogers.
Had to have stopped? Possibly.
Shout out to the Taco Bell on Tennessee Street. It's still there. And it will probably be one of the most profitable places in Tallahassee for a while. I may have stopped there once or twice.
And James, we always appreciate the thumbs up and encouraging others to do so. And from Mr. Johnny D, this is going to be debated, and we've already dived into this conversation prior to, but what I would like to hear from you, Jason, is, and again, you got to see spring practice play out. You got to see fall camp play out. There's experience with James Blackman. There's not much experience with Jordan Travis or a track record But at this stage of the game, how do you think it will play out versus what would you like to see play out?
I think right now, and we've talked about this a little bit in our spring football previews with you that you'll be seeing in the coming weeks here on Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. I think
few days.
So
we've got a bit of a tease here from Jason. So tomorrow being Wednesday at 5 o'clock Eastern time, the quarterback preview coming from Jason and myself.
Tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Let me write that down real quick.
It's being posted.
5 o'clock tomorrow. Great. Got it. Okay. I think, spoiler alert, I'll give you what I say here. I think it's going to be James Blackman, and I think this is his job to lose. And we've talked about this a little bit previously. James Blackman came in the 2018 season, started one game against NC State, had a hell of a ball game, over 400 yards passing, threw four touchdowns. The Seminoles still lost the game, but it was more of a, we need to put him in, we need to give him the time. We need to give him a chance to be the starting quarterback again now that he's had a couple of years. His last game was horrendous in the Sun Bowl loss to Arizona State, committing turnovers, throwing interceptions, and whatnot. I think this is going to be his job to lose. I think Mike Norvell, Kenny Dillingham, the offensive coordinator, are going to give him every chance to lose the job. And I'm not saying I necessarily want him to lose the job, but I think they're basically saying, listen, this is your chance. This is your time to shine. This is your time to show out. You've been the starting quarterback now. In each of your 3 seasons, you've started at least one game. Each of your 3 seasons in Tallahassee, you're going into year 4. I think he's going to be given the default chance to be the starting quarterback. Plus, I also think it just basically relies down to what else is there. Jordan Travis, a lot of what we saw last season, I hate to use this analogy, I hate to compare him to a Gator, was a lot like Tim Tebow was in 2016. He was the sexy flavor of the moment, come in, run the ball, score a touchdown, hype up the crowd. That's pretty much what he did. We did not see him throw the ball hardly any. I think I can count on one hand the number of times he threw the ball last season. So I think the only way you can see James Blackman possibly having some serious competition for that starting quarterback spot is to see if they allow Jordan Travis to throw the ball in the spring. And if we see he does have an arm, I could legitimately see him starting at quarterback against West Virginia on September 5th. As far as the argument of Tate Rodemaker, Chuba Purdy, there's no way you will see them start at quarterback. Number one, Chuba's not even on campus right now, so take him out of the equation. And I do seriously think that Mike Norvell wants to go back to kind of an old school Florida State football where you let the quarterback sit, let him marinate, let him learn so that when he comes in, he knows what he's doing. Because with this offense, with it actually having a playbook now, unlike it did last year during the Kendall Briles era, then I conceivably see you need a quarterback who can't just go in there and start as an 18-year-old against West Virginia.
Redbeard 40, Mark Rogers, you need to be the voice of college sports. So what I've done at Redbeard 40, while Jason was giving his analysis of the quarterback situation, was I dropped a link in there going way back in the day when I was actually covering college basketball and the Final Four on site in East Rutherford, beautiful East Rutherford, New Jersey. So enjoy that reporting from the Final Four.
I'm not going to call you how old you are, but that was, 25 years ago?
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, 24 to be exact.
Is that 96?
I was a child reporter.
Was it the UMass-Syracuse Final Four?
Yes, good call. Mississippi State and Kentucky won it all.
That was the Marcus Camby Final Four for UMass there.
That's it.
Was it John Wallace? Next, you're going to say Tallahassee is a swimming school. And next, you might actually put a high school players as your profile picture, Dennis. So strive for greatness there, Chief.
All right. Mike Myrick on the line, always supporting us.
Right. Now, I'd like to point out you passed the Ohio State comment. I just want to throw that out there. Mark Rogers TV showing a little bias there.
I have certainly, when it comes to James Scott and his contributions, I give him a ton of airtime. What do we have here? Yeah, somebody beat Ohio State, but it wasn't LSU because they didn't get the opportunity.
LSU would have smoked Ohio State, and you know it. Even as big a Buckeye fan as you know, LSU last season, LSU was a one-time thing. I don't think LSU repeats. I don't even think LSU wins the SEC West this year. LSU last year was just a group of gangbusters who was a pretty good football team.
I think you're going with the transitive property, and I understand it. Clemson, Ohio State played a really close game. Therefore, Clemson got dusted. Therefore, Ohio State would have been dusted.
No, I don't think Ohio State would have been dusted. I think it would have been a very good ball game, much in the same way Clemson LSU was. But I don't think Ohio State could have competed with LSU for a full 60 minutes last season.
I believe that regardless of the score of the Clemson-Ohio State game, the best team doesn't always win. And I do think that Ohio State in 2019 was better than Clemson.
Then how did they lose? In your opinion, let's take a moment here. Let's take a timeout from FSU chat. Then why did Ohio State lose to Clemson?
Well, we understand this happens all the time, that teams lose that are better. The Clemson team in 2016 that won the national championship lost to Pitt. Were they better than Pitt?
I don't know. Those Panthers, that kicking game was solid for the Panthers that game.
Yes. The Alabama teams that won national championships lost to Ole Miss. Okay.
So by that property, Florida State beat Ole Miss in 2016. So Florida State would have beat either one of those teams, right?
Sure.
That's my bias
You
property.
want to go with that?
That was my bias property.
Yes. If any Clemson supporter said, we got the win fair and square, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yes. And they have the better argument. They have the actual result, 29-23. I don't have the result, but I'm just stating that I believe that Ohio State team in 2019 was better than Clemson.
Do you think that Ohio State team beats LSU? Taking off your objective Ohio State fan as a football analyzer, do you think that Ohio State team beats LSU?
I will play off of the statement that you made that LSU passing offense was humming at a rate that would have been extremely, extremely difficult to stop. If Justin Fields was healthy, which he was not against Clemson, he was 70% the player that he is because he had to play with a knee brace and he was obviously hobbled. And that completely takes Ohio State to a different approach to playing offense. If Justin Fields was healthy, I think it would be a great, great game, and I think Ohio State's probably better than LSU. But without Justin Fields and the Ohio State team that we saw in the playoff game, I would think that LSU would beat Ohio State.
I'm just still mad that the reason Florida has 2 of their 3 football national titles is because of you guys. So that's why I hate you guys. Ohio State.
2 of 3.
Because you guys couldn't control yourselves and you killed Ted Ginn after his kickoff return in the 22-06 game, the title game. And then because you beat Arizona State, in the Rose Bowl after the 96 season, that knocked them out as the number 2 team. So when Florida smoked us in the Sugar Bowl, Florida won the national title. So thanks a lot.
Well, if your team would have taken care of business in 96, you would have just flat out won the national championship.
Our team was hungover from Bourbon Street. We were in New Orleans. Have you been to New Orleans on New Year's?
I've not been to New Orleans. We covered this ground a few weeks ago.
You need to be there for the Florida State LSU game.
I would like to be.
Redbird, we don't know. That's what I'm saying. He probably could have. Norvell could have said, hey, you're out the door. I'm done with you. He could have said, hey, I want to transfer. That's the thing is right now FSU has not been transparent about saying what happened. And that's their prerogative. They can do what they want to do. Yes, I just quoted New Edition right there. But we don't know. That's what I'm saying. I would like for FSU to say, here's what happened. I would like Coach Norvell to say what happened, but they're not going to at the moment. So best of luck if he transfers to Maryland or Penn State or, an FAU or USF or something like that. Wherever he goes, we just wish him the best of luck. All right. I got the puppets dancing here. I got the Ohio State Clemson people dancing here. I like it.
You do. Yes. You've taken over here. I don't know that this really proves anything, but I'm going to cite it anyway. According to Todd, and we're going to trust his research, it sounds about accurate. Ohio State is the 2nd best record in college football since 2000, and Clemson has the 7th best. I don't know what that has to do with last year's 2 teams, but I
think he's an Ohio State fan.
Those are the stats.
It's an Ohio State hat he's wearing.
And I would say that Alabama would most certainly have, I don't know, that they would have the best record since 2000 because Saban joined in 07. They were bad before that. It might not be, if Ohio State's number 2.
USC?
I don't think it's USC. USC hasn't been, maybe it's Oklahoma. They've been maybe the most consistently good.
And yet they have no national titles.
Well, they snuck in the 1 since 2000.
Barely. They barely beat us because our best player on offense, I think, Marvin Minnis was out. Just throwing it out there. Still a little bitter. I am still.
Oh, you know who I was going to guess, and I should have went with my gut instinct. It is
Army.
not a Power 5.
Army.
It's Boise State.
Ah, yeah.
They lose 1 game a year.
And it wasn't to Florida State.
All right. Do we have any comments or questions that we can actually play off of here? SEC Dog, maybe Florida State should focus on volleyball or something. So,
I'm sorry. Volleyball girls are hot. Shout out to the FSU volleyball team. I'll focus on them. I'm single. I can say that.
I was going to say, but I stayed off of that comment.
Go for it. Go for it.
Florida State with a new rival, according to Donald Gelsey. This is what I used to do, Jason, when we had a new viewer to the show where I didn't recognize their handle.
Okay.
I would give it a big welcome here, like this. Welcome to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Donald, we welcome you in. Would love to know how long you've been watching the show. Apparently, you're a Florida State fan, so I don't need to ask that question.
How mad do you think Louisville is going to be this football season? We got one of their defensive end who transferred, kid from Palm Beach Gardens, who transferred down there. We took Chuba, who was committed to them. We kicked their butt in basketball twice, including on their home court, and then being down by 12 and winning by 15. So we outscored them by 27 points in the second half to beat them in football. We don't have to go to school with the state of Kentucky. I mean, I think we're just kicking their butt right now. Louisville is our new rival in the ACC. Forget Clemson, forget Florida, forget Miami. Louisville's our new rival. Nope, that's not as good. Yes, and Jay Jobs is 100% correct. And I think it's the definition of not just a Seminole, because I know Jay Jobs is a Gator, but it's the definition of a current Canes fan, a current Gators fan, a current Oklahoma Sooners fan, Notre Dame fan. The problem is that there are a lot of, how should I put this nicely? There's a lot of stupid fans out there. There's a lot of stupid fans out there for all schools, for Florida State, for Miami, for Florida, who tend to, in our world of social media, get more attention because they just say the crazy thing that gets the clicks. And that's fine. That's the prerogative. That's how things are going to go right now in our current state. That's not my style. That's fine. Yeah, Jay Jobs, no. Fight the Gators. But that's where we're at right now. So the problem is you have unrealistic Florida State fans who are still living in the dynasty era of 1987 to 2000. That's what's going to happen. And yes, we did lose to Miami, and then Miami lost to FIU. Just never forget that. You lost to a community college in Miami.
So the transfer rules in college football have been greatly debated and have changed significantly, or they have changed subtly in recent years. They may change significantly. Certainly, we are seeing more student athletes transfer, focusing on college football than at any time before. There would be a rare graduate transfer 5, 10, 15 years ago. Now we see, and that used to be one of the great comforts in watching college football for me, would be I knew that kid was always a Buckeye, always a Seminole, always in 10 years down the road watching them in the NFL. Okay, they may have played for 4 NFL teams, but they were always a Gator, a Trojan, or whatever. And then seeing them inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame 20 years from now, that they were always a one-school player. But times have changed, and they're changing radically. And now it's difficult to find players that stay with one school the entirety of their career, or there's just a great influx of obviously transfers because of the transfer portal and the propensity for the rule to go in the favor of, or the ruling, I should say, in the favor of the player who wants immediate eligibility. That seems to have loosened significantly, because that used to be automatic that you had to sit out a year. And now the hardship is being very, very lenient in regards to it having to been proven. So how do you feel about these transfer rules and what's being currently proposed?
Well, and just to take a quick side note, pointing out your example, Tate Martell used location as a reason why he needed to transfer from Ohio State to Miami. One of the many reasons he used was, I want to be closer to home. He's from Las Vegas, and I'm still pretty sure Columbus, Ohio is closer than Coral Gables, Florida. But I could Google map it later, and we'll get that for you by the end of the show. For those who haven't been paying attention to what Mark is talking about, is the ACC has basically signed off on their support of a rule allowing for a one-time transfer where you get to come in, transfer to a program, and you get that one-time pass. I love the rule. A lot of this has been stemming from the fact of Mel Tucker, who was the coach at Colorado after one season at Colorado, heading to Michigan State. I get why he made the move. It's hard to justify why you're saying a player is, for lack of a better term, beholden, handicapped, handcuffed to staying to a school. Meanwhile, a coach can go make millions of dollars off his liking and transfer and jump from school to school. You know, the way, I'll say it, the way Jimbo Fisher jumped from Florida State to Texas A&M and left everyone hanging in Tallahassee. I like the rule, and we've talked about this before. I will be 100% in support of the players on this one. I do believe players should be paid. I don't think they should be paid hundreds of thousands of dollars the way that NFL players and the way professional athletes are paid, because I do believe you're getting a free college education, so you should get that. That being said, I was able to have scholarships, but I was also able to work part-time jobs so that I would have spending cash, so that I would have money to go out and live like a normal human being. These players should get that same opportunity. They should be paid, in my opinion, the way part-time. You pay the minimum wage standards, and so then that way they have a little bit more spending cash. You can figure out a way to tax it and do it so the players, in many cases, can have spending cash so they can go out and get a slice of pizza, so they can go out and hang out with their friends, so they can go out and get a new video game, so they can go out and, that way they can use it for school expenses where need be. There's ways to get around it. I love the rule. I love the fact the ACC is behind this. I love the fact that the ACC is the first of the Power 5 conferences to come out in support of it. And I think that it shows that players do deserve, I think the best word is respect. I think players deserve a level of respect that they have not been getting of late. Your thoughts?
I'm right there with you, Jason, in regards to, so when a student athlete chooses a particular place to study and play, like the rest of us, that choice is made with the intent that this is the school for them. They don't want to go somewhere else. I got to think that that's the thought from most. It's reasonable. It's logical that you're making a selection, not thinking a step ahead that, things don't work out, or I'm kind of lukewarm on this situation. I'll give it another thought in a year or two and go somewhere else. No, we've thought it over. We've really been advised by the people that we love and trust in our inner circle, and we've made a decision that's one of the most important, probably the most important decision of our lives to date, and thinking we're all in. We're staying for 4 years. We're completing our degree, and that's our decision. But with the student athlete, it's different than the standard student in that there is a relationship built between them and the head coach and the position coach and the coaching staff, where they are entrusting their career and potential livelihood, but what is a large part of their college experience, to that coaching staff and that relationship that was built that brought them to that campus. And if that head coach leaves and typically takes the coaching staff with him, well, that bond, that contract of sorts has been violated. Therefore, why shouldn't the student athlete be allowed to leave? And for that one time, I totally agree with the rule as it is stated.
And my thing is, and to touch on what you said a little bit ago, it's a different college football athlete at this point, and not just not just say college football. Let's say college athlete in general. You know, I graduated high school in early 2000s. I went to Florida State, and my final schools were schools like Florida State, Miami, Virginia, University of Florida. Everyone, you know, all these schools I got into. I chose Florida State in many ways because my parents went to school there. My parents graduated from Florida State University, so I was raised a Florida State fan. I was raised wanting to go to Florida State, not just as a Florida State football fan, a Florida State Seminoles fan, but also I want to go to FSU. You know, a lot of people were the same way with the University of Florida, University of Miami, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, all these other schools. Nowadays, and especially using football athletes, for example, you have a school like Akron, you have a school like Central Michigan, you have Antonio Brown, who's going to school down here, going to high school in Miami, and goes to school at was it Central Michigan or Western Michigan that he went to?
I always get them confused. I believe it was Western Michigan.
Okay.
That might be right.
But he went to a directional Michigan school. He's Central Michigan. He went to Central Michigan. He went to a directional Michigan school because he wanted to be exposed on TV. The advent of TV, the advent of all the games on ESPN3 and on Fox Sports and NBC Sports Network and ESPN 12 and whatnot, it has allowed for there to be less loyalty towards one school. There's a lot of people who just want to play college football, want to play college basketball, and they realize, okay, I need to go here, using football, for example, go here, get my 3 years, and then I can go to the NFL. That's what it's about at this point. There's not as much loyalty. And I get it. I understand the people on the side saying, well, once you make a commitment to a school, you should stick to your school. I do agree with that. I do agree that, it's the most important decision you can make, whether you're a high school football player, whether you're a high school basketball player, soccer player, lacrosse player, baseball player, or just a high school student. What college you go to is an important decision. That being said, if you're going to hold a player to that standard, you have to hold the coaches to that same standard. If you're going to make a player wait a year if they don't get the NCAA hardship requirement, then a coach should have to wait a year if they're going to switch from one school to another. Or if you're willing to pay coaches insane asinine salaries, you need to pay players something so that they're not sitting there having to either A, take money to help support their families and then getting declared ineligible to play, which happens in many cases, or God forbid, we watched the 30 for 30 about the U documentary, and you've got players talking about how they would go out and commit crimes just to go sell products and make money. That's what happens. It's just the reality. There are ways around it. And that's what the NCAA, if they were an actual legitimate organization, would try to solve. That was a cheap shot at the NCAA, but they deserve it because they're a joke.
You would not be the first. Jason Parker on the line from...
You don't know where I work, do you?
Yeah, I know where you work. You've got so many stipulations to the ins and outs of your career at this point. I don't know what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not.
Let's play a game. Let's play a game called Does Mark Rogers know where Jason Parker works? Go.
Let's know who was responsible for typing the graphics in.
Well, I typed in WTBJ. You took that off.
No. That is a different graphic than what you typed in. So obviously, I do know. I didn't know the call letters.
TBJ. They named it after me. WTBJ. I mean, they named it in 1949, and I wasn't born until the early 80s, but still, they named it for me.
You can follow Jason on Twitter at JPeasy. That's JPEEZIE 333. JPeasy 333.
Yeah. Follow me. Get the insight you need.
There's a specific reason why I want folks to follow me on Twitter. I'm not a big Twitter guy. I don't get in arguments on Twitter. It's not really my thing, but of course I'm on Twitter and I post my videos on Twitter. But maybe I should engage a little bit more with folks on Twitter. But I am specifically asking you to follow me on Twitter. If you care anything about this channel and what we do, please follow me on Twitter, specifically starting this week, because there are folks looking at my social media and needing to see some things. So anyway,
I like Facebook.
Twitter, just please do it for the help.
I'm a Facebook guy. I'm more of a Facebook guy, mostly because I'm an old man. I'll probably go to sleep after we do this. Instagram is mostly to follow athletes and cute women, so that's where I follow Instagram for.
Jason will be sleeping. We'll be talking Miami football at 8 o'clock Eastern time.
I'm sorry, but I will give a shout out. I was at the Dwayne Wade jersey retirement ceremony on Saturday. I do want to give a shout out to Manny Diaz, head coach of the University of Miami, who was there. I was able to rip him a little bit about being a turncoat, since I just want to remind Miami fans that your coach went to Florida State, just letting you know that. You can't do anything without a Florida State guy in charge. I'm just throwing that out there real quick. But yeah, so shout out to Manny. He complimented my FSU back. He's a dull at heart. He wants to be one of us. He doesn't want you guys in Coral Gables. He wants you out. I think that's just my assumption. But I think that's
I'm just letting that lie.
Let it lie. Let it lie. It's a nice lie. It's like that lie at the Ole Miss basketball game. That old lady who hit that 94-foot putt.
94-foot putt from an old lady?
You missed the Ole Miss basketball game. She putted it across the court into a hole on the other side, and she won a brand new car.
Amazing.
She's 84, 86 years old, something like that, and she putted it in there. I'm in my mid 30s, and I still can barely putt it, like 10 feet, and she putted it all the way across the court.
It's amazing. I would not be able to do that, I'm sure.
We should play golf next time you come down here.
Just play some golf. I haven't played golf in forever. I'm not a golfer.
I'm not either. I think I still have my grandfather's clubs, and he died on a golf course, so that might be interesting. That's how you want to go. Honestly, if you could go, he putted in 18, he was walking back to his golf cart, had a brain aneurysm, passed out, died 3 days later. But that's how you'd want to go. Honestly, if there's ways some people could want to pick their way to go to the pearly gates, that would be one way.
I don't know what my live stream count is. It's got to be in the thousands. I have posted around 10,000 videos. I believe that the subject of death and how you would wish to go has never been uttered here. I leave it to you, Jason.
Listen, I give the people what they want.
We want to talk death here.
This is the content when they go to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. They want to know why I have an Instagram page. They want to know where I work, and they want to know my thoughts about how I want to go. Now, just for the record, that's not how I want to go, but I'm just saying that's how my poppy, God rest his soul.
That's our next step here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, answering life's great questions.
Put it in the comment section. How do you want to go? This could be interesting.
Comments are good. Again, they help the algorithm. Whatever you want to comment on that doesn't require a 4-letter word, please put it in the comments. Meanwhile, Jason will be taking us through the recruiting situation in Florida State and any recent happenings.
Florida State has been active, of course. Head coach Mike Norvell and the assistant coaching staff has been big in the recruiting. This week so far, they have offered a 4-star defensive end from down here in South Florida. He announced Jabri Ismail, who is a 6'5", 210 defensive end from Miami Christopher Columbus High School, which won the State 8A state championship last year. He's ranked as the 12th highest defensive end in the country, 181st best player overall. He had already been recruited from schools like Michigan, Miami, Florida, Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt have all given him offers. Florida State is now actively in the party for that one. And then today they offered somebody from the Maryland area, from his name is Colin Mobley, also a defensive end. From the DMV, if you will, this is the place that gave us names like Ronald Darby, Eddie Goldman, few guys who did a few things for Florida State. He's ranked as the 28th ranked defensive end in the country. He's a 6'4", 245-pound strong side defensive end from DeMatha Catholic, kind of a big name school for those who know the area. So Florida State has been active in recruiting, and we'll just see where they can go from there. I think this is going to be. I think, once again, this plays into how Florida State will do in the coming season. I think if Florida State can get 8 wins, 9 wins, kind of show an upward direction with the team, I think you're going to see a very good class coming in for 2021. But they can't afford to have another bad season. Another 6-6 regular season cannot happen with these guys if they want to turn this recruiting thing around.
Our guy, J Jobs. I can never get on him because he's always encouraging people to like the videos and share the videos. And he's always, of course, saying thumbs up for the voice of college football. So I posted a video in as many videos I posted prior to the college football playoff games between Ohio State and Clemson and Oklahoma and LSU that were taken out of context. Never. It cannot be found anywhere that I ever stated that the winner of Ohio State and Clemson would win the national championship. What I did was I had a conversation with the Clemson guy, and I had a thumbnail that stated de facto national championship ?
Okay.
Never did I state that was the de facto national championship game. I stated ? Meaning I'm asking the question of the audience. Was the Clemson-Ohio State game the de facto national championship? That's what I was asking of the audience. I've been accused, I don't know how many, this is probably 100 times now, of stating that that was the de facto national championship game, and that never came out of my mouth. You got to be careful what you say, even when you've got it on video and can verify what the truth is.
You feel better? You good?
I've already stated this a few times, so apparently I don't. I'm still cleansing.
Take a deep breath. It'll be okay. You guys will come back. You'll be preseason ranked #1, even though you shouldn't. And that's not a knock against Ohio State. I'm sorry. I think the defending national champion should always be ranked #1. You're the #1 team until you get beat. I don't agree with the idea that a team that finished 5th last season is all of a sudden the #1 team. That's just my opinion. Of course, I also don't think there should be rankings until October.
Okay. I think I can agree with.
You need at least 4 or 5 games before you can decide to rank, because
I can agree with.
You're gonna have that inevitable Auburn team that will lose 2 or 3 games, and you're like, oh, they were such a disappointment. No, it's September. Y'all can't win till 2020 game. Yes, I can't wait. I'll be there in my garnet and gold, win or lose. I'm actually an FSU grad. I'm not a fake Cane fan like some people.
So if we want to objectively rank the teams, you're correct. I agree. You need 4 or 5 games to somewhat objectively rank the teams. But rankings are fun. People love them. We're going to rank teams. We're not going to stop people from ranking teams. But the assumption that the #1 team from the previous season is the #1 team for this season, I don't understand that logic.
I think you're the #1. You're the #1 team.
We're starting a new season.
But you're the #1 team. You are the last team. And I'm just saying, let's say LSU, for example,
it's not the same team
this season. Let's say LSU loses their first game. Oh, I agree with you 100%. It's not the same team. But you are the champion. You are the defending champion. You are the #1 team until you lose.
For the previous season. It's not the heavyweight title.
So, and I would say the same thing. Had Ohio State won the national title, this isn't just a knock against Ohio State.
I know it's not.
One team. I think if Ohio State won the national title last year, I think they should be the preseason #1 team.
I didn't accuse you of that. I just think it's flawed thinking.
Well, it's not the first time you've ever said that to me. But I think that's the way it should be. I think you are the #1 team until you lose. And then if all of a sudden, if LSU loses that first game, knock their ass down to 10th, 11th, 12th, whatever. More Husker content needed.
I agree. I used to be all over Nebraska football, but I've had guests desert me, unfortunately, Matthew. I will do my best to deliver Nebraska content, and if I have to do that myself, if that has to be my own analysis, I will certainly jump on that as best I can. But I would like to bring on some really good Nebraska guests, and have in recent months, but have not been able to schedule them in the last few weeks. So if you have, Matthew, Nebraska media people that you like and enjoy, let them know that they need to come on Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football.
I actually hate Nebraska more than Miami.
Why?
My hate dar. Well, let me go through this here. We got 15 minutes left. So my hate dar of the teams I hate. #1 is the University of Florida. I hate the Florida Gators more than anything.
Okay.
They are scum of the earth. They're horrible people, horrible school. Orange and blue are horrible colors. Disgusting. That's #1. #2 is Ohio State, because without Ohio State, Florida would have 2 less football titles and 1 less basketball titles.
But you're hating a team for not doing anything against you. Those are the circumstances.
This is my list.
Okay.
Let me do my list, and then you can give us yours. So Ohio State has given Florida joy, and they should not have helped out in that. So that's #2. They're #2 on my list for that reason. #3 is Notre Dame. Because as someone who was raised, so full disclosure, my mom was Jewish, my father's Catholic. My grandmother, my Catholic grandmother, was a devout Notre Dame fan, devout Catholic and whatnot. And so that's why I probably root against them. But I'm getting tired of hearing Notre Dame. I'm getting tired of schools that brag when they haven't done anything since 1988. That was their last national title. You were not accepted by UF. Yeah, actually I was. So, but nice try, Jay Jobs.
But where's that cutoff?
At least one of us was. So
where's that cutoff, though? I'm sorry to interrupt, Jason, but where's that cutoff? I understand that Notre Dame has not won a national championship since 1988, but then I could counter with Florida State hasn't won a national championship since 2013. Where's the cutoff?
It's at least I would say a decade. I would say if
that's arbitrary.
That's why it's my list. You can give us your list in a second.
All right. Go ahead.
Number 4 is Nebraska, because I remember being a kid in the Orange Bowl when we played them 2 Orange Bowls back-to-back in the 92 and 93 season, where they were talking a lot of smack and hadn't won anything against us at that point. And they lost both games to us. So congratulations on that one. They talk a lot of smack. I hate Trev Alberts. I think he was a jerk when he worked for ESPN, so I dislike him. And then number 5 is Miami, objectively, because well, they're Miami. They're one of our rivals. But that's why I always say I dislike Miami. I hate Florida. Remember Michael Barrow blew that Charlie Ward telegraph screen up? I do remember that. I remember Marvin Jones making Lamar Thomas cry like a you-know-what on that hit. I actually had that poster in my dorm. Marvin Jones from Miami, who made the right decision to come all the way to Tallahassee and leave that star community college in Coral Gables. Shout out Dennis Wilson.
A number of people let us know that Antonio Brown went to Western Michigan. I have a difficult time
Central Michigan
remembering those teams between Central, Eastern, and Western. Like the number 1 pick in the draft a few years ago, Eric Fisher. I know he went to one of the 3, but I can't remember which one.
Central.
They all kind of blend together.
He went to Central Michigan, and Antonio Brown also went to Central Michigan. He is a Chippewa. He's also
Freddie's telling us Western Michigan.
I'm
so
looking
at wrong.
He went to Miami Norland High School, home of the Vikings.
Yes, you're right. Central Michigan. Yep. Just looked it up. Yep.
And wanted to go to Florida State, but academic concerns. Couldn't have gotten the SAT up. Could have gone to Florida State.
As you can tell, I'm way behind in the live chat, as I typically am, about 15 minutes behind, trying to get these to air, seeing if there's anything out there that we missed.
The MAC is a bunch of midweek games. I do like MACtion in November when there's those Tuesday and Wednesday games. That's good. Goodness, Florida State's lost 4 games.
Bit of a stretch. But
yeah, James, I'm sorry. Fake Booker McFarland here with the inaccurate fact here.
Well, okay. Florida State's lost how many games in the past 3 years? 7, 7, and 6. That's 20.
You've lost more than 20 games in the last 25 years.
Sure, but man, we might be in the 15 range. Ohio State's not losing too many games. I know Urban Meyer lost 9 in 7 years. So that means Day lost 1 last year. That's 10 in 8 years.
And then you lost 7 under Luke Fickell, so there's 17.
Okay, so that takes us back to 2011.
So back to 2009. So
that was with an interim coach.
In the last 11 seasons, Ohio State has lost 20 games. So congratulations. Fake Booker McFarland is wrong here.
It's still a great record.
I'm not arguing that, but I would like to apologize.
We would like to be accurate, and right. we both could recognize very quickly that was a huge leap.
A for effort from fake Booker McFarland, but no, inaccurate there, Chief.
I cite this from time to time in regards to depicting the Ohio State dominance in the Big Ten. Is that?
And now you know why you're my number 2 team on my list. Also, the fact that you guys continue.
Jason's response told it all right there. But I enjoy having my own channel because I can often just take it over.
Are you doing this with Cam? Are you doing your Canes thing with Cam Underwood?
Talking about Ohio State?
No. I'm saying, is that who you're going to be doing your Canes?
Oh my! Well, we got time here. This is only going to take about 30 seconds.
Yeah. I just want you to talk. I want to make sure. Is that who you're doing your Cane stuff with?
Yes.
Underwood from State of the U. Make sure you mention that 2002 Fiesta Bowl, just because I want to watch and see his head possibly explode.
Okay, so I asked him, and I'll ask you the same question, not tonight, but we'll go through it at a later date. I asked him most exhilarating best wins that he's experienced, and then the most excruciating losses. And see, I've had this conversation and shot videos with him way back on both of those topics. So we went back through it for people that are obviously new to the channel. And when I hit excruciating losses, he said, next. That was his response. Exactly. I knew exactly what he meant.
What bothers me about that, I'm going to give a shout out at dumb Miami fans here for a moment who sit here and say you can't make that call late in the game. So they're not arguing so much that Miami committed a penalty, but they're arguing with the timing of the call.
Yes.
If it's a penalty in the second quarter, it's a penalty in the fourth quarter. Do I agree that there are some – was I a fan of the call being made? No, and I was clearly rooting for Ohio State in that one. But there is a point where if a call is going to be made in the second quarter, it's got to be made in the fourth quarter. To answer your question, I'll say I'll keep it in the last 20 seasons. The most exhilarating win was the national title win over Auburn, because of the fact that it was the first game Florida State had been really challenged all season, down 21-3. All the smack talk, which I loved, all the freezing cold takes from people saying this is what happens when you play the SEC, and then an ACC team ends up winning the national title. So it was one of those exhilarating moments where I actually legitimately cried when Kelvin Benjamin caught the touchdown pass there to win that game. The most disappointing loss would be that Orange Bowl against Oklahoma, because if you look statistically and if you look at it, that 2000 Florida State team was better than the 99 national title team. They had a chance to go down. It was here. It was in the Orange Bowl game in the state of Florida. They had a chance to start what could have been a legitimate continuation of that dynasty era. Who knows what happens after that game? And they were a better team in that game, and Oklahoma just came out and flat out owned us in that game. And that will always be one of the more frustrating moments as a Florida State fan.
I will finish my point about Ohio State dominance in the Big Ten now. I will just simply state this. And this is really incredible if you really let it soak in. Ohio State's worst record in the Big Ten, take out the Luke Fickell year as an interim coach. This is what we do to correct this. We just, boom, put the shot on me. Ohio State's worst record in the Big Ten since 2004, other than the Luke Fickell interim coach year, worst record is 7-1. Worst record. There it is.
Are you done?
I'm done. I just needed to make that point.
Sorry, I'm just looking at Instagram, seeing what pretty girls.
I would not have made that point had I not been led that way in the conversation by you.
I said that I hate Ohio State, and you took it there. Once again, you and your typical OHIO mentality took it there. That's what I'm saying.
No, we are a neutral show here. We are a neutral channel. People can see this. This is fair to all. I get commended for this all the time.
When have I ever been neutral?
No, you aren't.
Oh, okay.
We do a Florida State show. It's Florida State. Sure. It's not going to be neutral.
I hope not.
Raymond likes what we do here. I follow and comment on Twitter after each show. Love this show. Thank you, Raymond.
Let's see. I'm just remembering real quick when the last time that we played Ohio State in that Sugar Bowl and we smoked you.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Sure. 31-14.
Those great moments. That was the one we should have played for the national title, except we choked against Florida in the finale, and then we took it out on you guys. I think we are undefeated against you.
Had Ohio State beaten Michigan, in which they only lost 20-14. Charles Woodson basically won the game almost single-handedly. Ohio State would have been playing in the Rose Bowl for a share of the national championship.
Fake Booger McFarland, you were wrong. Just admit you were wrong. You can say, I'm sorry. You can say, I was wrong. You can say, how dare I say inaccurate information. I don't care how you say it. You were wrong, James Woolman. Mark, do you love the show?
Loving the show. People love the show. Appreciate that. So what you need to do in addition to the like and the comments, please take the show and share it out there on social media. That would help us tremendously. Jason Parker, NBC6.
He got it.
Show number 40 in the books. Jason, thank you so much. Of course, we will dive deep into Florida State football on the field when they hit the practice field here in the next few weeks.
When's your first one going to air?
Oh, tomorrow, our quarterback breakdown with Jason. We look forward to that. We've talked to running backs and wide receivers as well, and now need to hit the rest of the team as well. We'll do that.
Yeah, we're just going to let you know we're going to bypass the offensive line here. They suck. Moving on. There's our offensive line preview.
Well, we'll get it on tape, put it up there. All right, Jason, thank you so much. Everybody, we've got Miami Talk coming up right now with Cam Underwood from State of the U, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Right now, keep it locked in right here.